I call to order the hybrid regular meeting of the Lakewood City Council on December 11th, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. For those of it attending by telephone, you can join the meeting at 720-707-2699 and enter webinar ID 849-5732 0840 followed by the pound sign. Well, Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Strom.
Here.
Councilors Over.
Here.
Mayotte Guerrero.
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
Ryan.
Yes.
LeBure.
Here.
Sharazai.
Here.
Lowe.
Here.
Sinks.
Here.
Mayor Strom, you have a quorum.
We'll start off with our statement of conflict of interest. All members of City Council have the responsibility to comply with the terms of Section 7.2, Parens B of the Charter and exclude themselves from voting on any matter in which they determine they have a personal, financial, or business interest. The City Council is empowered by Charter 7.2, Parens B, to agree by unanimous vote, excluding the member at issue, to excuse any member of the council from voting on a matter in they determine such member has personal, financial, or business interest. And with that, we will go ahead and invite up Judge Bozarth for the induction of our newest city councilor, Isabel Cruz. Oh, apparently we skipped over the Pledge of Allegiance. So this is the point in which I thank all of you for your patience and flexibility as we get used to this brand new job. Let's start first with the Pledge of Allegiance. And we will remain standing for a moment of silent prayer after. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now Judge Bozarth. Thank you.
Great. Hi, good evening. If you could raise your right hand, please. I, and state your name,
I, Isabel Cruz,
swear or affirm to support the Constitution of the United States of America,
to support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Lakewood,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Lakewood,
and to faithfully perform the duties
and to faithfully perform the duties
of the Office of City Council.
of the Office of City Council.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I think there's a couple copies there.
And with that, we'll go ahead and take a quick 15-minute recess to say our words of congratulations and support to Councilor Cruz. I will now call the city council meeting back to order. The time is 7:22 p.m. Will the clerk please call the roll for the new city council?
Strom.
Here.
Olver. Here. Mayock Guerrero.
Here?
Stewart.
Here.
Ryan.
Yes.
LeBure.
Here.
Sharazai.
Here.
Lowe.
Here.
Cruz.
Here.
Sinks.
Here.
Mayor Strom, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Next up is the consent agenda. The use of the consent agenda has been made to expedite council action. It contains both resolutions and, although not tonight, first reading ordinances. Members of the public will have an opportunity in a moment to comment on any of the proposed resolutions. Any council member may request an item on the consent agenda to be removed for separate discussion and action. Will the clerk please read the consent agenda into the record?
The consent agenda includes the following items. Item 7, Resolution 2023-58, approving the nomination of Brent Fitch to the Board of Directors of the Lakewood West Colfax Business Improvement District. Item 8, Resolution 2023-59, authorizing the termination of an IGA between the City of Lakewood and Green Tree Metro Districts. Item 9, Resolution 2023-60, relinquishing emergency response authority for hazardous substance incidents occurring within the corporate limits within the City of Lakewood. Item 10, Resolution 2023-61, approving an intergovernmental agreement with Jefferson County for use of Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act / Safe Streets for All grant to develop a comprehensive safety action plan. And item 11, Resolution 2023-62, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Mile High Flood District for design and construction of drainage, channel, and park improvement for Dry Gulch in Two Creeks Park.
Thank you. And I will be pulling item 8 from the consent agenda. Do we have any other counselors wishing to pull items from the consent agenda this evening? No? Okay. And then with that, at this time, I will open public comment period on the proposed resolutions contained in the consent agenda. At the conclusion of public comment, a vote will be taken on the entire consent agenda. Again, this is excluding item number 8 on the agenda. With the exception of any items removed by council, we will be doing a separate vote for item 8. Is there anyone in the audience or online who would like to speak to the items remaining on the consent agenda? And with that, I think all we have here is non-agenda public comment.
Say that again?
All we have here, I believe, is non-agenda public comment. Is
I
that
believe
correct?
everyone that signed up is for regular public comment, not for the consent
Okay.
agenda. You might have someone online requesting to speak to the consent agenda items, Mayor?
We do? Okay. And with that, I'll call Scott Caruso online. And Scott, what you will do is press star 9 to request to speak, star 6 to unmute when prompted, which you're prompted.
Actually, I'm going to remove myself from that. I apologize. If you can hear me.
Yep, we can hear you. Did you want to speak later for non-agenda public comment?
Possibly. I'm going to hold back for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else who wishes to speak on the consent agenda items? All right. Seeing no additional public comment, I'll go ahead and close public comment. And can I get a motion?
Hello? When you're saying about public comment, on what?
We're talking about public comment on the consent agenda right now.
Which is?
The items that were just read into the record.
I missed that.
And we'll come back to non-agenda items later. Yes, you're welcome. Can I have a motion, please?
Mayor Strom, I move for the adoption of resolutions, all of which are included in the consent agenda items introduced into the record by the city clerk.
Second.
A motion is made and second, and please go ahead and cast your vote. Oh. And consent agenda items pass. 10 yeas, 0 nays. Okay, and then we will move on to Resolution 2023-59, authorizing the termination of the IGA between City of Lakewood and the Green Tree Metro Districts. And I have pulled this at consent agenda item tonight because my belief is that we do not have enough information to make this vote. We have unexpectedly do not have staff present that can answer questions that council would have. We've heard a lot of questions and concerns on this topic. And so I personally will be voting no on this resolution and would open it up to any discussion for other councilors who would like to do so. And then we'll go ahead and open up a public hearing on Resolution 2023-59. Do we have anyone that wishes to speak public comment on this topic? Okay, Mr. Del Duca.
Still showing us 10 minutes on this one. I'm not going to need 10 minutes. All right, perfect. All right, good evening, council. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on this issue. I'm certain that you're all aware of the information that I'm going to present because I emailed you all earlier so you'd have time to look at it and actually, research the veracity of everything that I have. Everything that I presented to you earlier is publicly available through court filings and everything else. So, just so the public is all aware on the history of this agreement, and we're talking about the IGA between Lakewood and the Green Tree Metro Districts. On October 22nd, 2007, Lakewood, Jeffco, and Solterra entered into an agreement funding a $20 million project with Green Tree. Lakewood provided $3 million of funding to be repaid with 7% simple interest, States that Green Tree, the agreement specifically states, and I quote, shall use its best effort to issue bonds to repay the obligation. I understand that it's not issued as a loan, but is issued as an obligation. As stated in the staff memo, there has been no bond issuances and there is no anticipation of any future bond issuances. Funding began in November 1st, 2007 with $2 million and another $1 million funded in February 1st of 2008. On December 27th of 2017, 10 years later, without any effort to issue a single bond for the project, Lakewood, Jeffco, and Solterra entered into a class action lawsuit against Green Tree for breach of contract, alleging the district expressly promised to repay plaintiffs via issuing bonds and pledging revenues, but have failed and refused to do so. That's a direct quote from the filing. 2 years later, on February 8th, 2019, a tentative settlement agreement reached between the parties and their attorneys. It, of course, required approval by City Council. For our portion, it required Jefferson County to make theirs, so the agreement was tabled as a tentative agreement. Jeffco and Solterra both agreed to the terms of the settlement during a executive session on May 2nd, 2019. So obviously there's no notes that are publicly available to that. It was decided by the City of Lakewood City Council that we would not be taking the settlement as it was. It had to do with using mill levy against the properties, 15 mills. So the part that Jeffco got was for 45 years. They get that to try to retrieve the $6 million that they did. We have seen nothing as a result. So we withdrew from the agreement in 2019 and fast forward to today, and we still have seen nothing from it. It is interesting that we withdrew from the obligation or from the agreement, and we still do not have an alternative. Furthermore, if you look at it, simple interest, so it's not compounded, obviously. It still would total $5,360,000. And I sent you a spreadsheet with the math, so you're more than happy to check it, and I promise it's right. That's one thing I'm very good at. So, at best, a precedent that shows that if settlement can't be reached for breach of contract against the city, that the city will forego future debts and just forgive the debt as an expense to the taxpayers. And I think that's a dangerous precedent to set as a city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Del Duca. Any other comments on this agenda item? And I apologize, I missed seeing that we had a hand up raised to speak. Councilor Sharizai.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate this getting pulled. I do think we all agree that we don't have enough information. But I wondered if no vote today means that we can't revisit this information or this topic with more information at a later date, because we've already made a decision on that. And so I guess I would ask the city attorney what that process looks like.
I think that is this working? No. I think that it could be brought back in the future, not in the near future, but honestly, it would just depend on the context. So we probably wouldn't bring this exact resolution back, but something else. Again, it would be at the direction of council, so it's fine. Whatever decision you make is fine.
Any other counselors? Okay, may I have a motion?
Okay, Mayor Strom, I move for the adoption of Resolution 2023, tell me, -59.
Second.
All right, we'll vote.
Wait, just to clarify, you're voting on the adoption of the resolution?
So yes would mean we want to pass the resolution to terminate the IGA. No means we do not want to pass the resolution and we leave the IGA in place intact as is.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Oh, wait. And that fails. 0 yeas, nays being, can I just say everyone? Strom, Overmeyer, Guerrero, Stewart, Ryan, Labure, Sharazadi, Lowe, Cruz, and Sinks. Okay, and with that, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. This is the point in the meeting where the public is invited to address the City Council on items that did not appear on the agenda. All comments should be directed to the City Council. And I want to take a moment to also, before we get started, to thank all the community members that have reached out. I know there's been a lot of question and even from some concern, as you've noticed, change in the order in which public comment is on the agenda. Thank you for reaching out with those questions. I know this is a transition. As you know, you've got a new mayor, which means we've got a new chair for the meeting, and not knowing what to expect out of the new chair of the meeting can be challenging and sometimes frustrating. So I do want to share that over the next few months, we will be working through to make sure that we are operating in a way that is most efficient for our city. We've got big business to do. And one of those means that we're also reevaluating how we're doing the flow of a meeting. For the next few months, I'm on a very deliberate listening tour with my council colleagues, the community, and other municipalities to identify ways that we can be most efficient and really make the most use out of our time, as we only have 2 business meetings every month to get all of this work done. So working very hard to strike a balance that makes sure that residents, community volunteers, and staff are present for all the items and able to speak on the agenda items that are planned. But also we want to make sure that we are holding very high regard for these non-agended items. We want to make sure that everyone feels heard. Access and fairness is my ultimate objective here. And I'd like to remind everybody that you can send feedback to your city councilors really at all times. We are available by phone, by email, and through Lakewood Speaks as well. So please don't hesitate to use those channels to reach out to us. And I want to thank you again for your grace and your flexibility as we work through making sure that we've got the best balance possible between making sure that everyone's voice is heard, but also prioritizing the very important work that the city is asking us to make sure that we're getting done. So thank you all again for reaching out, for those of you that have with questions and comments about the unknown order. And we may see it continue to shift a little bit as we're trying to work through these things to land on the one that fits best for our community. So at this time, we'll go ahead and usher in. I want to ask that in accordance and observance of decorum of the City Council chambers, again, that we refrain from applause or audible support or discord with the speaker. If you have handouts for City Council, I would ask also that we hand them over to the City Clerk. City Clerk will make sure, A, that they get in the record, and will also distribute them to each of the City Council members. Please provide them directly, if possible, before the meeting, but I know you didn't have a lot of time for that this evening. I will read the names from our sheet, our sign-in sheet. If you have not signed up to speak, you can please still do so by checking in with our city clerk over here to sign in. And just as a reminder, your contact information will be included on this sheet, and if needed, staff will definitely follow up with you on your topic, so make sure that you're including your contact information so that we can make sure that we're doing that. What we'll do is we'll start with in-person comment, and then we'll shift over to online if we have any online. So when you come up, if this is new for you, please make sure to state your name and your address, or your name and your ward. For individuals doing public comment, you're limited to 3 minutes. If you are speaking on behalf of yourself and 3 others, then you will have the opportunity to pool your time up to 10 minutes, and you'll fill out one of these sheets in the back. So I think that covered all of the details, and with that, we'll go ahead and call our first community member, and that would be Adrian Hannigan.
I am grateful for the opportunity to address you all, but I would like to read excerpts from a short story called The Little Match Girl.
Excuse me.
Oh.
Can you
Yes?
go to the microphone,
What?
please?
Oh,
Thank you.
all right, here I am, sorry. I'm going to read a story called The Little Match Girl by Hans Christian Andersen, a little bit of a short part of the story. In this cold and darkness, there went along the street a poor little girl, bareheaded with naked feet. So the little maiden walked on with her tiny naked feet that were quite red and blue from cold. She carried a quantity of matches in an old apron, and she held a bundle of them in her hand. Nobody had bought anything from her, and she was to sell matches for the whole long days. No one had given her a single penny. She crept along, trembling with cold and hunger, a very picture of sorrow. For you know, it was New Year's Eve. Yes, that's what she thought. She seated herself down, and she had drawn her knees close to her, but she grew colder and colder, for she had not sold any matches. And her little hands were almost numb with cold. Oh, what a match might afford for a world of comfort if she'd only taken a single one out and drawn it against the wall and warmed her fingers with it. And she drew another match against the wall. It was again light, and in luster there stood her old grandmother, so bright and radiant, so mild, and with such an expression of love. But in the corner at the cold hour of dawn sat the poor little girl with rosy cheeks and with a smiling mouth, leaning against the wall, frozen to death on the last evening of the old year. Stiff and stark sat the child with her matches, of which one bundle had been burnt. She wanted to warm herself, people said. No one had the slightest suspicion of what beautiful things the girl had seen. No one even dreamed of the splendor in which she and her grandmother had entered the joys of the new year. On Friday night, I was with a group of people at Colfax and Chase, and there were 2 people who could not find a place to stay on a freezing cold night. Antoinette and Larry, we tried to get a room for Antoinette at the Mesa Motel, and the clerk wanted us to fork out $95. Larry was taken to the Denver Coliseum, and Antoinette disappeared into the night. Rebecca Stewart acted on this and made phone calls and coordinated the CAT teams to look for people who were freezing. And I'm grateful to her for doing this. So I would like to thank you. And I would like to thank Isabel Cruz, who was there as well. And, just keep these people in your prayers because, I don't know, this was the best we could do. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jenna Hallbrook, Fred Clifford, and then Gail Hamilton.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Jenna Halleck with Colorado Christian University, Ward 1. Did you hear that? I think it's the sound of about 1,500 students cramming for finals right now. This is the last week of classes at CCU for the fall semester, and finals start next week. Our residence halls close on December 21st for winter break, and we have a week-long winter term, the second week of January, and then residence halls will reopen for the spring semester on January 12th. A few other updates for you from the university. Our Employment and Career Services is grateful to collaborate this year with 37 Lakewood businesses to employ CCU students, both current and alumni. These businesses cover a wide range of industries and include your very own Lakewood Parks and Recreation, so we're very thankful for that. Certainly, if anyone listening knows of an employer that could benefit from hiring CCU students, you can reach out to me personally. I'm happy to make that connection. We are also in the process of creating a free business directory for interested local businesses. This offer is just no obligation, just a way that we can serve the community here in Lakewood and Jeffco. It's going to be a first edition that we're trying to launch for the spring semester of 2024. So if those who are interested in participating want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to give them all that information. My contact information can be found at ccu.edu/neighborhood, along with a lot of other information that's out there for the community. Cougar Athletics, quick update. Our men's and women's cross-country teams finished 8th and 16th respectively in the nation for their division. Our men's golf finished 6th in the nation for their season as well. Currently, our men's and women's basketball teams have started their season, and as always, we invite the neighbors to come and enjoy the games at the CCU Event Center. Finally, for those who are interested, there's still time to enjoy the music of the season. Our holiday handbells and chamber strings will perform at 7 p.m. tomorrow night, December 12th, at the CCU Music Center, so tickets are available online. Thank you all for your hard work, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Mr. Clifford.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor. And my topic for tonight is the order. So just a little bit of background I want to mention. I don't remember what year it was, but this was done before, and where the public comment was towards the end of the meeting. And I don't remember the excuse. I think it was something to do with the city business needed to be before it. I don't remember exactly the way it was worded. I had a representative at the time, Vicky Stack, who was probably one of my favorite, maybe not the most favorite, but I've lived in Lakewood for almost 18 years and 20 years total. And her response to this was that the public comment is the business of the city. And that made so much sense to me that all these years later, I remember what she said. And I'm going to repeat that the public comment is part of the city's business. So just remember that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clifford. Then we have Gail Hamilton, Linda Stopp, and then Connie Reddig. You'll be after Linda.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm Gail Hamilton. I live in Ward 3. My topic is the proposed development of 412 units adjacent to Belmar Park. I believe that the city's job is to protect the environment and represent the citizens, of which I believe over 90% of them would be opposed to a high-density apartment development that is immediately adjacent to Belmar Park, bordering the ponds, which would potentially destroy the wildlife and bird sanctuary. They're talking about cutting down 70 mature trees in the process, but I think there's a bigger concern about the ecosystem there and the environment. And I have more questions that I think a lot of people have asked me or that have gotten involved have been asking, and we don't have answers, so I'll just pose those questions. And I don't expect you to answer, but it's a lot to think about because everyone I've talked to's had a series of questions about why is this happening. First, why has there been no environmental audit? And why would you allow an adverse impact on a jewel of a Lakewood Park system? And next, why would you ignore Lakewood's sustainability plan and the existing Lakewood ordinances? And why would you allow cash in lieu of land that should be donated to the park or a dedication to the park based on the density of the proposed development, and in lieu of a buffer zone, which there should be between any development that is new there and the park in its entirety, but especially where the bird habitat and the ponds are. Also, why are you allowing staff or planning and zoning to make important decisions that have potentially dire consequences to this ecosystem and the residents of Lakewood and the entire metro area who visit the park every year, all the time? People from all over the metro area talk about the park. And, why? It seems like you're bending the rules for a luxury apartment complex for a Texas developer and not listening to your constituents. It's called Heritage Lakewood Belmar Park, and your website says it's dedicated to the history, culture, and natural wonders of Lakewood. And I have to ask, do you want a legacy of ruining a historical gem for everyone and generations to come, which is what this would do? And it seems like you'd want to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda.
Good evening. Linda Stopp, Ward 4. First, I want to thank you for offering your time and energy to work as stewards of this land we share, this city of Lakewood, Colorado. As stewards, you have tremendous responsibility to consider the many elements of the issues that come before you. As stewards, you understand a broader view of the land, the citizens, and the issues. I ask you, from the depths of my heart, for you as stewards, governors, and fellow citizens of Lakewood to stop the development of condos at 777 South Yarrow Street. Stop the destruction of the fragile ecosystem that will ensue as this construction project takes place. Stop the felling of almost 70 mature trees, a loss that will affect the water in the park by root destruction and loss of carbon absorption. The air, trees absorb 0.12 pounds of carbon every day. They also produce 500 liters of oxygen. The construction will damage the birds and the wildlife, and importantly, will destroy the opportunity of Lakewood citizens, their family and friends, and visitors from all over the corners of our state and beyond to enjoy, to be enriched by, to become more healthy by spending time in beautiful Belmar Park. As you know, we are at a tipping point in the climate crisis. If our governing bodies continue to be swayed by profit instead of protecting the environment, none of us will escape the results of climate change. Now is the time. Stop the build. Save our city, save our park. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Put up a parking lot, save our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Reddig, then we have Amber Varwig, Joshua Comden, and then Polly Reitz.
My name is Connie Reddick, and I'm from Ward 3. And speaking about building apartment buildings, it needs to stop because I live in a building, and because I reported about all the ecosystem, how the problems of the building and the living conditions are very dangerous to us. First of all, we have water going into the building, which they try to put new windows in, and the holes, what they did is they went and put foam into the wall, which causes cancer. Plus, we don't know if we have mold growing inside the walls, but I know in my apartment since 2018, I've been coming in here and complaining about electrical problems, about living in an apartment where a woman's intestines exploded and they never changed the carpets, and my doctor wrote 15 letters that everybody was given on staff. And if it was your mother, your daughter, your loved one, you would be furious. But it happens to be me. And I'm the one that's ill. I'm the one that is becoming more ill because of what's been going on in that apartment building. So, when I come to you, you don't know the laws. I have spoken to every single one of you that have come in here and said that you're going to dedicate yourselves to helping the public. I just don't want you to come in here for fame or for greed for money, because the problem is this. First of all, what they have done to me is went against the disability laws. They went against the HUD laws. They went against senior laws. They went against health laws. I mean, there's so many things that they have discriminated against me because I was a representative for 7 states on housing on Section 8. And that's another reason, is because I do know the laws and they don't want me to speak up about what's going on. And the fact is now that you're mayor, you need to know the laws, and everyone on this board, Plus, you need to know that why is it that Metro Solution and Foothills are allowed to not they're not going with the laws. I get very upset about all this. It's part of my disability. And when I'm speaking, I've asked for more time because of my disability. But the point is that I would like you to get together with me, and plus, I would like your lawyer here to help you understand the laws so this won't happen to anybody else. And you need to check into these buildings that are being built, because when they're building them without, how should I put this?
Ms. Reddick, your
Protection.
time is up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
But please, check into it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amber Varwig.
Hi, my name is Amber Varwig, and I live in Ward 2. And so I did want to speak to what we experienced on Friday. Everything actually was going really great at first. We knew it was going to snow, but I had assumed that the shelters would be open, so I hadn't thought about that part of it, because that's my understanding. So everything's great. We're all having a pretty good time. People are getting a chance to warm up in the area. We have like a little space for people to warm up, and things are okay. And then somebody asks like, hey, is there a shelter? And I'm like, hey, actually I believe that's happening. Let's get that for you. And we start making phone calls. And I want you to understand how cold it was. We all remember it was just a few days ago. So I'm standing outside. I've been out here for hours. Not a patch on what our clients are doing. And I'm standing there with a city councilor. We call another city councilor. We're talking to another city councilor, and no one has clarity on if, when, or how it will open, people could get there, or how many they could take. Or it was very traumatizing watching people disappear into the snow, not knowing if I'm ever going to see them again. And so I have some thoughts to help us kind of figure out what we could do going forward so that this doesn't happen again. Because Colorado has very, very predictable snowstorms. Yeah, we all get, 6 inches of partly cloudy sometimes that we have to clear off our driveway, but in general, we know days in advance this is going to happen. So I would say the number one thing is communication. Any centers that you believe are going to open need to tell you whether or not they're going to open, so that you know. And then if you're like, oh no, they're not going to open, what could we do? You're not being hit with me at like 9:30 at night trying to figure out answers. You guys already know this. They need to communicate to you, and then of course, those of us on the ground kind of need to know what's going on. And I'm not going to give any examples of like how that could look, because you guys are going to figure that out. I mean, hotlines, there's been different suggestions, but that's the number one thing. We need a plan to move people to shelter in extreme weather, especially if it's after that 6 or 7 o'clock thing, because there are people that work. And if they want to be able to afford to literally continue existing from day to day, they have to go to work. So when they're off and now they can't have shelter, they're penalized for working. And that's the opposite of what we want. That's not what we want. It is too cold when the parameters kick in and people are already, keep in mind, a healthy, able-bodied person can be out in 32-degree weather and they can shake and they can do things that people do to keep them warm. My mom in a chair, if she was out there, she's dead. She can't stand up and get her body warm. You have to consider there are people with different needs when you're doing this, that diabetics, a ton of different people that cannot be out in that cold without it negatively impacting them. And I'd also like to thank Rebecca Stewart, Sophia, Glenda for answering, Isabel for being there, all the city staff that jumped to it. You guys were interrupted, not knowing this was going to happen, thinking it was going to be okay, and you still made good things happen. The CAT teams rescued people, and when I went out, I only found about a dozen people without shelter. So that's way less than people would be. So I know I'm over time. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope all of you have a lovely Christmas and happy holidays.
Thank you. Joshua Comden.
Hello, I'm Joshua Comden from Ward 1. I want to kind of build off of what my friend Amber was talking about here. One of the women who couldn't find shelter, I actually know a little bit of her backstory because she's come to our group several times for the past 2 years. She even came to us when we were at Walker Branch Park giving out food. I remember the first time that I met her, she was just very proud of being a person that's gone through Narcotics Anonymous and doing well, so successful with that she like got to speak at some either state or national convention. I'm not sure which, but she was very, very proud about that. Another thing is when I asked her like what she really wanted, she talked about this book in the library at the Edgewater Public Library because she said it had like a chapter about her great-great-great-grandfather that came to Colorado in like the 1800s, and she talked about that for like 15 minutes. The next time we saw her, I saw her on Colfax, and every time I see her, I always go, "Oh, did you get that book?" And she goes, "Oh, no, not yet. But we're walking down the street, and so this is how I learn about her like method of survival on the street. Basically, she does a little bit of sex work to try to get by, and if she can't get enough money each night, what she does is she goes around finding cars that are unlocked, and then she will sleep in the car until someone finds her or whatever. And I was mentioning this to someone else who also sleeps rough on the street, and he was like, yeah, I know about that method. I wouldn't do that method, because he said, I particularly saw this woman get beat up for being in someone's car. So these are the dangerous situations we put people in when they're not in shelter. So thank you.
Thank you. We have Polly Reitz, then Regina Hopkins, and then Andrew Peterson.
Good evening. My name is Polly Reitz. I'm the Volunteer Conservation Committee Chairperson for Denver Audubon, and which is the local chapter of the National Audubon Society, and we have members all over the metro area, which brings me to my first point that I'd like to make to you tonight. Belmar Park is a widely known birding venue that's known to people all over the metro area. Our members, Denver field ornithologists, have field trips out here. Tuesday Birders runs trips out here. In fact, I think they have one tomorrow to Belmar Park. And so my point here is that the park's community of users is much larger than just the immediate people around it. Now, those people have very legitimate concerns about traffic and noise and safety, and I don't want to downplay that. But the community that uses Belmar Park is much larger, and so any discussion with the community really ought to include the people, not just around the park and not just in Lakewood either, but people who come and use the park regularly. It's important to a very wide public, and they will be affected by the project at 777 South Yarrow. The second point I want to make is that areas like Belmar Park are invaluable because they provide nature close to home. You don't have to drive an hour to the mountains. You don't have to drive an hour out to Castlewood Canyon or Bar Lake. You can enjoy nature right here. And multiple studies have indicated that having nature close by promotes the social, emotional, and physical growth of children particularly. And I know some adults have testified in front of you, in front of the council, about the importance of the park's natural beauty and the peaceful atmosphere that keeps their mental well-being stable. If you promote or allow this massive development right on the edge of the park, you're in essence dealing death by 1,000 cuts, because you will have additional noise, lights, you'll have habitat loss, including the trees. Birds in particular will suffer from window glass, which is a big killer of birds, and the presence of more domestic pets. You don't know that cats are the number 2 cause of death of birds. The first one is habitat loss. Cats are number 2. So I hope the city will look into some alternatives, including perhaps purchase of land by partnering with Great Outdoors Colorado for a buffer zone, or the best, as far as I'm concerned, as far as we're concerned, would be the whole parcel. And GOCO does give grants like that to cities, municipalities. So I hope you'll look into it and consider that, because I think this would be a big impact to that park. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a good holiday.
Thank you. Regina Hopkins.
Good evening, council members and mayor. My name is Regina Hopkins, Ward 5. I come before you again to continue to address the important issues impacting the city of Lakewood, the unilateral decisions being made at the city level regarding Belmar Park that go against the will of the people. I surmise that most of us are here in these council chambers tonight because we believe in the power of in dialogue, in finding solutions, and the democratic process. I'd like to draw your attention to a particular ordinance regarding your roles as a council person. Municipal Code Title 2.03.020, Public Trust and Fiduciary Duty, states, "The holding of public office is a public trust and imposes a fiduciary duty to protect the interests of the people of the city upon every city council member. Each member of the city council or board shall carry out their duties for the benefit, again, of the people of the city in accordance with this code of ethics." It states in your own ordinances that you hold a public trust to the people. As residents who have dedicated our lives to this community, cherishing and seeking to safeguard its essence, we too possess rights that rest within your hands. The developer, K-Roy, has provided us with zero parkland dedication, has not upheld Lakewood's tree preservation ordinance, or given us a bulk plane setback. These are usually requirements from developers who build next to parks and on plots of land this size. Why is the city staff allowing this developer special provisions, which are not normally granted? Why? I urge you to individually critically assess the information presented by city staff, recognizing any possible undue influence or intimidation tactics hindering your ability to act in the best interests of the community you represent. Your allegiance should be to the citizens you represent. With this new city council, let's create a new environment where the council feels empowered to make decisions in the best interest of the community, unburdened by fears of lawsuits from developers. We understand the complexities you face, but it is time to reclaim the autonomy and authority that rightfully belongs to the city council. It's time to overcome the fear and prioritize our environment, wildlife, and peace of mind over the developer's financial gain and staff's external interests. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Peterson.
Try my best with that. Good evening. My name's Andrew Peterson. I actually live in Denver, but I frequent the park at Belmar quite often, so I feel compelled to speak on this. A little bit about me. I'm an ISA certified arborist. That's the International Society of Arboriculture. And I'm a tree risk assessment specialist with that organization as well. I hold those two credentials. I also work for a much larger municipality where my work scope is residential preservation of trees and commercial preservation of trees with development. I'm speaking tonight with hopes to plead and educate with all the great leaders in Lakewood, that being you guys, regarding the Belmar development soon to be built near the park. I'm compelled to express my serious concern with the removal of all trees to make a large apartment complex. I'm fully aware that this is a private property matter and yet think Lakewood should be proactive in approaching the developer with some modifications to create equitable solutions for all stakeholders within the community. Some of the benefits of mature trees related to economics include increased property values for both residential and commercial estate nearby, promoting visitors for businesses, encouraging shoppers to linger and spend more money, which in turn equates to tax dollars. It can also help defer maintenance costs on materials like pavement that would deteriorate in hot areas. Not only would this be a monetary loss for the city of Lakewood and the taxpayers, but would also result in the loss of many other benefits related to the environment, aesthetic, economic, psychological, and social benefits. Environmental benefits of mature trees include improved air quality, carbon sequestration, reduction of stormwater runoff, soil erosion control, improved water quality, energy conservation through protection from elements like sun and wind, air temperature decrease through transpiration, and providing habitat for wildlife. All of these, whether they seem big or small, have positive impacts that most Coloradans can agree on. The aesthetic benefits add beauty to our space and help people screen unwanted views. Social benefits include reduced stress and mental fatigue, enhanced recuperation rates, enhanced community pride, reduced precursors to crime, increased recreational opportunities, to name a few. And did you know that tree-lined streets make drivers less likely to speed? In addition to informing you about all the pros and cons, I would like to propose some solutions and ideas to modify the developer's plans. At minimum, all perimeter trees should be preserved using the best practices in the industry. Plan modifications should be made to include preservation of trees tree protection fencing installed to drip lines during construction. Staging access should be restricted to the north side of the property because the impact on mature trees would be minimal. I'm going to jump to my conclusion. In conclusion, I ask the council to consider preservation of as many trees as possible. Please use your influence as leaders to strongly advise on the plan sets provided. Once these trees are removed, you will have no promise of survivability of new trees. It will also be much harder to drive outcomes to a 35% canopy in certain areas of Lakewood like the city desires. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. We then have Barbara Millman, Eric Hartman, and then Celia Greenman.
Thank you, as always, for the opportunity to speak to you again. And Jacob, you were in my ward before. Yay. I'm Ward 2. My name's Barbara Millman, and I've lived there 30 years. Many of us speaking tonight have similar questions, perhaps because we represent many thousands of people. My questions are, how can Lakewood be designated a Tree City USA when it approves the elimination of 69 mature trees for Cairo with minimum tree canopy replacement? I'm going to look into that. I don't The sale price of the land was $1.143 million an acre. Why did the city accept $250,000 an acre for fee in lieu of parkland dedication? Did the city know that the developer Cairo had an F rating from the Better Business Bureau when you gave it this sweet art deal? Since Cairo frequently deals with millions of dollars, they can afford to provide a quality experience for tenants. Why did the city ignore its own ordinance requiring seamless blending of architecture in a neighborhood? Even though an environmental impact study was not required, with so much land and water and wildlife and so many birds involved, what is the justification for not doing an analysis? Why is there no sense of duty to the community, especially in light of serious global warming and drought implications to Colorado? This park is a delicate ecosystem that won't survive the devastating impact of such a huge building. Why did Lakewood allow Cairo to build right up to the park instead of providing a buffer? These are questions you've heard before, and we represent so many other people that we talk to. Who do City of Lakewood personnel and Lakewood City Council represent? A rich developer or the large number of citizens disgusted by the immensity of the building and resulting sacrifices that will be made by trees and bird and wildlife habitat. So many of you have said it's a done deal. Yogi Berra and Save Belmar Park say it ain't over till it's over.
Thank you. Eric. No, Eric Harmon. Oh. All right, then, Celia, you're up. And I have you down for pooled time. Is Janice and Roland here? Janice, okay. And Roland? I'm missing, is Roland here? Okay. Oh, you don't need to come up. Thank you, that's fine. All right, when you're ready.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. It's me, Celia Greenman. I'm in Ward 2. I thought perhaps a visual of what is proposed at Belmar West would help people understand the real impact to the park. And this is the Iron Gate complex, and this is the tree canopy that surrounds the Iron Gate. That surrounds the Iron Gate office buildings. This is the sound.
We can't hear you, Celia.
This is the sound that you might hear when you are at Belmar Park. But with this development, with no tree canopy, this is 3 times the size in every dimension of the office buildings here. Can you grab a mic? This is 3 times the size of the office buildings, and this is the sound that you are likely to hear. The lake is right at the eastern, the building is right at the eastern edge of the lake. This will prevent the sunlight, the morning sun, from coming over into the lake. In the afternoon sun will hit the windows. There'll be a lot of window glare. And in the evenings, there will be lights that will be a distraction or an obstacle for birds and insects alike. Now, the city emphasizes that property rights are at stake, and there is a use by right. They say that the proposed development will occur solely through the administrative process managed by the planning department. And the planning department will review the development to ensure it is meeting the city's regulations for setbacks of the building, heights, green space, requirements, landscaping, etc. But this is patently not true, because there is zoning ordinance 17.7.7 that says that existing trees with trunks greater than 8-inch caliber within a development shall be preserved to the extent reasonably feasible, and such trees shall be considered protected trees within the meaning of this section. Streets, buildings, and lot layouts shall be designed to minimize the disturbance to protected trees. As this development is planned to cut down 69 mature trees of the 72 on site, the lot layout was not prepared with trees in mind, but this was not opposed by city staff. And now we've heard that there will be replacement trees, but for anyone who travels the metro area, you know that trees have a hard time in our semi-arid West, especially in the ever-warming climate. Tree replacement is an inadequate solution to a problem that could be avoided. The city also has published several other points on its website that I would like to address. The website states that adjacent to Belmar Park, there are 2-story multifamily townhome complexes on the east, west, and north side of the park, duplexes and single-family homes on the east and south side of the park, and Belmar Library on the east side of the park. None of these buildings is 5 and 6 stories in height. The Lakewood Public Safety Center is multi-story, but it does not sit right against Coonsey Lake, which is right here. What about parkland dedication? The parkland dedication, the city says, is intended to mitigate the impact on parks by new residents in a new development. The fee in lieu of parkland dedication law is being followed. As the name indicates, there is the option for developers to provide a payment or improvements rather than or in addition to dedicating acres from within their privately owned property for parkland. This is particularly allowed for developments that are less than 15 acres. In this case, Belmar Park is directly adjacent to the development, and there was not a recognized need for land dedication. Well, I ask, why was there not discussion to use at least some of this dedication as a buffer between the development and the park? And if the parkland calculation, which is based on density, amounts to about 60% of the property, well, maybe the density is just too high for this particular area. We've also heard fee in lieu. The city has agreed to accept a fee in lieu and improvements in lieu of dedicated parkland, and they intend to construct a parking lot to support attendance for city-sponsored events and develop a new trailhead. So instead of parkland dedication, there will be removal of even more green space and a paved parking lot. But 25 or more trees will be planted at the site of Belmar Trailhead. The city is considering the following strategy to restore lost canopy and habitat. Well, instead of planting new trees, why not just preserve the existing trees? Again, this is an inadequate solution to a problem that could be avoided. And another question, which has been brought up, is why the fee in lieu calculation is so undervalued, approximately 22% of the valuation of the land when it was purchased. I've heard from council that this densification is actually beneficial because it will allow more people to use the park and enjoy it. But this is a very human-centric view because the more people in the park, the more the park degrades. It degrades through erosion of trails, trampling of vegetation, and harm to wildlife, or avoidance of the area by wildlife entirely. What is the city of Lakewood doing to minimize the impact on Belmar Park? It writes, community resources staff members are exploring opportunities to enhance and protect wildlife habitat in the park, which may include elements like additional signage, outdoor education, facility upgrades, and additional plantings. Well, signage can only do so much. Jay, could I have my slide, please? Because there are signs all over Belmar Park that there is no fishing. But that did not stop these teenagers from fishing from the walkway area and actually catching a fish until I grabbed their pole and made them throw it back. Yes. 70-year-old takes on teenagers. We all know how well signs work for picking up dog waste. Additional plantings are good if they are looked after. And finally, the city has published a page on facilitated discussions. These discussions are occurring between residents of Belmar Commons and the developer. Belmar Commons residents have justifiable concerns about safety, traffic, and parking. However, we do not know, because notes of the meetings have not been provided yet, if other issues such as those I've mentioned have been considered. In situations like this, nature is not given legal standing to object to actions. However, we hope that with regard to the municipal code, comprehensive plan, and the sustainability plans of Lakewood, that you will not just accept the city attorney's statement that there is nothing you can do, but that you have the appetite to direct staff to uphold existing ordinances. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Did we have more public comment, Mr. Robb? Do you have more in chambers, or do you want me to go online?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'll just go ahead and call them if you'd like. David Thormsgaard.
Good evening, City Council. My name is David Thormensgaard, and I'm a resident of Ward 3. I've spoken on the development issue in the past, and I just wanted to say some more things about it. I do want to acknowledge that there are negatives that are undeniable to this development. As an Eagle Scout, I've spent a lot of time outdoors and understand what is being lost, and that there's no promise that it'll ever come back. And as someone who bikes everywhere, I know the hazards that more cars can face, and as someone who is renting, I would love to see affordable housing go in rather than just luxury apartments. But rather than dwell on just the negatives, I wanted to also acknowledge that there might be positives to this, right? That's 412 households that might be able to enjoy the park and the library that is nearby, and might be able to live without a car and walk to work like I would be able to do if I was able to walk from the apartment across the street into my job at Belmar. And that's a lot of people who will spend money in Lakewood and maybe patronize the businesses and King Soopers nearby, and providing the city with sales tax revenue that you can use to hopefully pursue some of the goals associated with this, right? Like put money towards projects like Two Creeks Park, land that was previously kind of not ideal, right? And it might be a beautiful park in the near future, thanks to the intergovernmental agreement that it was passed in the thing tonight. And I just wanted to encourage everyone who feels that you are not listening to stick around for your guys' reports, because you do speak into it and you are here to try to serve the people as best as you can. And there are hard parts about this issue, and you've spoken into that in the past, and I would hope that they would give you the opportunity to respond. And maybe that'll be a side effect of switching around the public comment, is people might be able to stick around for those reports or feel more inclined to. So I just thank you for your time and your care with this issue, and hope you guys can continue to do all you can to help us feel heard and supported. So thanks.
Thank you.
Heidi Snyder.
Good evening. My name is Heidi Snyder, and I live in Ward 3, and I've lived there for over 40 years. During that time, as a nature lover, I have visited all those many parks that Lakewood is famous for, particularly Belmar Park. As trained botanical illustrator, I have spent a lot of time at Belmar Park, taken photos and done drawings, and I would like to put some images to all that information and the comments that you have received up until this point about the potential development at Belmar Park. So I would like to show you some images of what Belmar Park actually is like. And I want you to keep in mind that whatever it is that you're looking at may either cease to exist or be severely deteriorated should the development go forward. Okay. All right, so what you're looking at right here happens to be a bird nest hanging from one of the many trees, and I will focus on trees here. This happens to be a cottonwood. So keep in mind, no trees, very few birds, and certainly no bird nests, so that is going to cease to exist. Next. Blue spruce. This was a mature tree, rather tall, beautiful looking. It takes time, particularly in our dry climate, to reach that kind of growth and girth and beauty, so forget that. Next. This happens to be the quote-unquote flower of a ponderosa pine. That happens to be a native tree. Beautiful, provides, again, habitat, but again, it will cease to exist should development increase and or go forward. Shorebirds. Well, Belmar Park, we have several lakes with varying water depth. Well, what is more attractive for wildlife than water? So here we have some egrets and shorebirds and a killdeer, and I could go on and on. Beautiful to look at, but there again, if you have increased usage, fewer trees, that will also affect the water level. Thank you. Meadows, this is a sort of run-of-the-mill local meadow. They too require a certain kind of ecosystem which is going to be provided only if, at least at some distance, we have some tree growth. Next. That is a photo, and I was really lucky when I caught this guy. This happens to be a Swainson's hawk. We do have quite a few hawks visiting Belmar Park, and they prefer to perch in taller, i.e. older trees. And he was a visitor. He came back from his migration late in spring. Thank you. Turtles, lots of turtles. They live in Belmar Park just like many of the other, organisms here. But even they will be negatively impacted should something happen to the trees. Go ahead. Kingfisher, as the name says, requires not only trees but a lot of fish to make a go and raise its brood. And one of the many birds that are in peril here. Cooper's hawk. Oh, he's a city hawk, and there used to be a nest at Belmar at the very edge. At one point in time, I actually took a tour which was guided by somebody from Audubon. It was quite some years ago. And that nest was right at the boundary of Belmar Park and private development. So, my wildlife doesn't make a distinction, where it needs to go. But yeah, one of the many denizens that may not come back. The northern flicker on an old cottonwood tree. They are pretty ubiquitous, but again, they do need trees. Go ahead. A nice ash tree, one of the bigger trees. Let's see, it would be the northeast corner of the park. Provides a really nice canopy. That happens to be our smallest raptor. That happens to be the American kestrel. Sometimes it's called the sparrowhawk. And these guys are very colorful. But again, like I said, you may not be able to see them for a whole lot longer. Go ahead. That happens to be a smooth sumac. It's quite a bit of color and variety. Go ahead. Oh, ducks. Talking about birds. Ducks. Belmar Park is lucky to have these bodies of water. And we are lucky to have bodies of water that are deep enough to accommodate those little guys because they are diving ducks. They need deeper water, usually at the center of the pond. And we do have them at Belmar Park because we have what they need. That's by the way called the buffalo head, or bufflehead. Established big mature trees. This happens to be a cottonwood at the edge of one of the many ponds. There's a little wood peewee in there. You just can't beat it, you know. And it's not something you can replicate once cut down. You can't just stick a new tree in the ground and go, up. In 20 years, we're back to where we were. It doesn't quite work like that. So go ahead. And
Are we out of time?
We are.
This is my last slide. And lastly, sometimes it's just nice to step outside and enjoy what the park has to offer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Anita Springsteen, and then Carol Mobley can go after Ms. Springsteen.
I'm Anita Springsteen. Didn't think I'd be back here so soon, but I wanted to support the Belmar Park folks. And I'm not speaking to the council because it was beat out of me that you all have any say in anything whatsoever. I know that you don't, because I made a motion asking for that parkland dedication, asking for us to direct staff to do that. And one of the city attorneys, Alex Dorodic, said that staff would be in a quandary if we were to vote and try to tell them what to do. So we know who's really in charge. And we know that the answer is always, they're gonna sue us. You better not support the citizens. And, but I just wanted to bring up a couple things. One of them is this.
Hello, Regina. This is Carolyn White. I'm an attorney at Brownstein Hyatt Farber Schreck. You called me and left a message last week, and I apologize. I'm just now getting back to responding to you. I think you wanted to inquire whether I could represent your group in opposition to new proposed multifamily development in Lakewood. I cannot represent your group. I represent the developer of that project. So hope that answers your question, and I'll hope you find somebody else.
Well, there you go. Carolyn White of Brownstein Hyatt Farber Schreck represents Kai Roy. Also happened to donate to Mayor Adam Paul's campaign. If you want to look at his campaign contributions, August 5th to September 3rd, 2019. Isn't that interesting? Carolyn White herself donated to the mayor, who, oh, did he have a conflict of interest when he voted to turn down my motion? Well, guess what? Our new mayor also had a lot of contributions from Brownstein Hyatt Farber Schreck. So the problem goes on. And I would just note in an interview, our new mayor said, when I see it in my council role, it's not necessarily blue versus red. It's no growth versus whatever the other one is. We'll say intentional growth, thoughtful growth, that kind of thing. We can address growth and development or redevelopment and do it in a way that still holds dear the unique character of our neighborhoods. Be mindful of the infrastructure that we already have and resources that we have. Yeah, I guess that was a lie. And the last thing I wanted to say is, Rebecca, false reporting is a crime. And doing that to somebody's mom is immoral.
Carol Mobley. Then I have Kelsey Crespaw.
Hello. My name's Carol Mobley, and I live in Ward 5. And I'm here to comment on the project at Belmar Park. I was reading the Lakewood 2025 Comprehensive Plan, and I saw some very interesting things that I thought applied to this situation. So I wanted to share them. First of all, I'm here to ask you, Council and Mayor, to exert your power and to halt the planned apartment building adjacent to Belmar Lake. I'm not sure everybody realizes that this apartment building, I mean, I think people here do, but not perhaps everyone out there, that it's going to be right on the lake, which is really important. I'm assuming that you communicate with the Planning Commission and are letting them know that there's a growing public outcry against this project. The scale of the project is not in keeping with the surrounding neighborhood, where single-family homes and two-story townhouses surround a park, which is a valuable wildlife habitat. In Lakewood's 2025 Comprehensive Plan, Action Step C states, and I quote, "Through the site plan review process and design guidelines, ensure that new multifamily, mixed-use, and commercial developments adjacent to single-family neighborhoods are compatible by incorporating appropriate design, scale, height, transition, and connectivity to seamlessly integrate with the neighborhood." End quote. In Chapter 7 of the Comprehensive Plan, Lakewood sustains biodiversity, natural resources, and ecosystem services. It states, and I quote, "One of the most alluring qualities about Lakewood is its proximity to and inclusion of natural resources and recreational lands. Lakewood values land management that provides for a combination of spaces for humans and for the natural environment, including wildlife habitat. Protecting the natural environment ensures that natural resources, high-quality wildlife habitat, and recreation areas remain for generations." Please look further into Chapter 7 to see the action steps. Allowing Kairoy to build a 6-story, 412-unit apartment building with a footprint of 2 football fields on the edge of the lake is not in keeping with Action Step C or Chapter 7 of the current comprehensive plan. It is time for the City Council and the Planning Commission to work together to reevaluate Kairoy's proposal. The building needs to be scaled down considerably or the proposal scrapped altogether. Let's work together as a community of concerned citizens, elected officials, and staff to protect our park now and for the future. Thank you for this opportunity.
Kelsey Kresbaugh, then Mark Smith.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Krebsbach. So I also want to talk about the Belmar Park Yarrow Street construction project. I'm going to echo a lot of what other people have said tonight because it really is how so many of us feel. And I understand the zoning challenges that we're up against, and I also understand the housing crisis that we're facing. But I feel that there has to be a more responsible way to develop our precious, beautiful land. So that the people of Lakewood can enjoy it, and also the people beyond, in Denver, and also our future generations to come. To me, I feel like we need to be thinking about sustainable solutions rather than a short-term Band-Aid, like building with no regard to the environment and allowing developers to skirt previously established preservation codes that were set up to protect us from things like this happening. So to me, it's very clear that no one wins here except for the development company and the owners that are going to profit off of this. But the animals and the people and the land and the trees will all be impacted negatively. And I think everyone that's spoken tonight has made it clear that it's not just a park. It really is a wildlife sanctuary. And it's a sanctuary to a lot of the people that live here, myself included. So what I hope for, at the very least, is some kind of compromise. Maybe we can find a way to build around the 69 mature trees. Maybe we can lessen the density of the complex. That would help with some of the traffic and accessibility concerns that people have raised. These are all important questions to ask. Can it be a 2 or 3 story complex, instead of the 5 stories? Can we build townhomes like we have around the rest of the park? I just hope that these are questions that are being asked and considered for the sake of our park. And I hope you're all listening, because these are decisions that really cannot be undone. This is not something that we can take back or change once we realize what we've done. And I think the way that this construction project is set up currently is going to have an irreversible negative impact on our park forever. And I really want all of you to care about that. So please, please be the advocates that we elected you to be, and stand up and do something. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Next up, Mark Smith, then Tom Dietz. Thomas Dietz, excuse me.
I want you to wait 5 minutes before you start that clock. So I'm Mark Smith. I live in Ward 3. Some of you I've met, and thank you for your time this evening. Happy holidays. I don't think we've heard that tonight, have we? Maybe out there. Maybe out there. I want to know where the eggnog is. Yeah, the good stuff. I have to joke. I appreciate the comments before me. I only came in when Ms. Hopkins was speaking, so I didn't hear previous comments, but I would basically echo, I'm sure, most of them. The council, I think this is their 4th meeting on public comments, probably more, and you probably are asking yourself, I'm sure, but I hope you know the answer, why are we hearing this? Why are we getting barraged? Because staff is a dead-end street. I'm a T-Mobile subscriber. I called T-Mobile the other day and I ordered my phone records because I have about 10, 11, 12 phone calls to planning staff that are not returned. And that is absolute evidence of them. I had a horrific experience on November 13th at the counter, a very horrific experience. I went to the city manager's office, and only the other day, just a handful of days ago, I got a letter from the city manager's, I don't know, it was a public coordinator or whatever, I forget the person's name, Dan Stoudemire, and he said to me in his email, thank you for your concern, blah, 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 we can always do better, blah, 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 yada, yada. The manager's office directed you back to the planning department. I went to the manager's office because I had a dreadful experience, and I'm glad to outline that in great detail. I copied all of you my response to Mr. Stoudemire, every single one of you, I copied. I've got a lot to say, I don't have time. So you're wondering why you are the recipients of this. Staff is a dead-end street. Just look at the planning department's public information page. We have put this in administrative because it's a permitted use and there's no logic in doing public hearings. I mean, it's an incredibly frustrating, unprofessional. Just read it. I have it in my document to you tonight. I gave Mr. Robb 13 copies of this, which will go to your city manager, your city attorney, all council members. I have spent 120, 150 hours on this document. Please read it, because it tells you what's going on. You've heard it. You've heard what's going on. Why are you prepared to collect $254,545 an acre? Your parkland code says fair market value. And the June 2018 document is the 254,000. It says nothing about, there's no connection between that. It was a policy that got established in 2018. And by the way, that 254,545 figure expired on December 31st, 2019. I talked to Ross Williams today. You know what he
You
said
need
to me?
Wrap it up, please.
You know what Ross said to me? He said that's what we've been doing. We've been collecting. This property sold for $1.351 per acre, $1.351 million. Mayor Strom, you said let's protect
Your
green
time is up,
spaces.
Mr. Smith. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thomas Dietz.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And that's the end of my list. Anyone else who's signed up?
And we have one online.
Great, thank you.
Hello, how's it going? I guess just from an outside view, that besides the roads being congested, I see the library is already packed, so you guys would probably have to add a second story to that. And I just want to say about everything before anything, the land was already bought, the government, right? We all know how the land was afforded in the first place, right? Colorado. So just to say that in order to start a city planning, it's poor for the people who plant trees to, what you expect them to have millions of dollars. I don't know. It just seems, it's like, what do you, I don't know. It seemed dumb to me. But anyway, I'm just, I'm saying, I don't know if you guys have any other plans for parks. I don't see, you guys can't respond. You can't say, oh yeah, we are also having another park. I hate this microphone. I'm sorry about the, in order for just to keep some of the wildlife and stuff like that. So I don't know what you guys, I don't know if you talk to other cities and know what parks you're keeping where, and connecting with the city in order to keep revenue mainly in the city, so you can keep everything else actual land. So I don't know if you're actually, you know, doing that. And I just think, I don't know. That's basically about it. I mean, so just, you know, I don't know.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah. Hope you guys find something. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know if you can afford to live here. All right. See ya.
All right, and we'll transition online. We have Erica. Erica, you'll just hit *6 to unmute.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Erica Anderson. I'm with Ward 4. Thank you, City Council members, for providing this opportunity for public comment, and thank you for your work on behalf of our wonderful city. I would like to address the plan to build apartments adjacent to Belmar Park, creating an impact to the park and its current access. I have drafted my brief comment based on information provided via the petition on change.org. It is disheartening to discover that the Lakewood City Council may have dismissed a potentially well-crafted set of mitigations for Belmar Park, particularly when it may have received approval from a supportive council member with legal expertise. The apparent reluctance of the council to suggest alternative solutions or amendments is troubling. I have joined the petition opposing this development and requesting eminent domain considerations, and the over 1,000 additional signatures underscore the significance of this matter to your constituents. Considering the council's alleged stance that they are unable to take action, the exploration of eminent domain emerges as a reasonable option, given their authority and assistance on the absence of viable alternatives. Preserving the parking lot through eminent domain is a pivotal option in safeguarding Belmar Park, a historical cornerstone for Lakewood and a vital space for local wildlife and plant life. This park is cherished by numerous citizens who frequent its paths. Luxury apartments are not needed for Lakewood or any of other part of Denver metro area. They exacerbate the housing access disparities and do not provide any affordable opportunities for the many residents who would benefit. It stands to threaten the well-being of local residents due to increased traffic and a lack of natural space access, as well as a potentially significant impact on the area's diverse flora and fauna. I appreciate your time in considering my public comment as a concerned Lakewood citizen, and I urge the City Council to consider this suggested alternative option. I also want to thank you again for your ongoing work and championing of our city and its amazing citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Any others in chambers before we close public comment? Oh, we have one more online. Laura, go ahead and hit *6 to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I will piggyback on many of the other people you've heard this evening who've expressed their concern about the development at Belmar Park. And I too am concerned about this development. Perhaps more so, I'm concerned about the future of Lakewood. I was born and raised here in Colorado, and I'm a teacher, a parent, and a community member here in Lakewood. I live in Ward 2. The amount of growth throughout the Denver metro area has been tremendous, and without a concern for proper management and sustainability, this growth is something that will either make or break our community. We have to find ways to balance the needs of our growing population and the needs of the city. I sincerely hope that the City Council here in Lakewood really takes time to consider what the future of Lakewood holds. Do you want to be a city that embraces urban sprawl at the expense of our environment? Our environment, which we all know is intricately intertwined with our own survival as a species, and it needs to be treasured and taken care of. Belmar Park should be one of the crown jewels of Lakewood. It should be protected, celebrated, and enjoyed by generations to come. Does Lakewood want to be known as a city surrounded by yet more massive, unaffordable apartment complexes? Instead, shouldn't Lakewood work towards being forward-thinking, sustainable, a city that prides itself on its ability for the residents to coexist with nature? At the very least, doesn't Lakewood want to be a city that does its due diligence and carries out environmental studies before building next to a wildlife area? As a city, as a human race, we need to work on protecting those rare ecosystems that still exist within our city limits to provide balance and life for us all. We as humans need the green spaces as much as the animals that live there. As the Lorax once said, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. And on a side note, I've also been concerned about the lack of snow removal on city sidewalks. I watch kids trying to walk or bike their 2 miles to school on icy, snow-covered sidewalks. I see bus stops along Kipling that no one in a wheelchair with a stroller could possibly access. And it's been like this for years, and it's just getting worse. So as we think about creating a Lakewood that works for everyone, please look into clearing and maintaining your sidewalks so that your most vulnerable residents can get around, and providing a Lakewood that works for us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and close public comment. And with no items on general business tonight, we'll shift over to our executive report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. I'm grateful that so many of the city councilors went to the recent quarterly the Board of the County Commissioners breakfast last Thursday. Some of you were online and some of you were in person, and thank you very much for attending. This will be redundant, but I was so excited to hear that Jefferson County recently announced a significant effort to fortify their focus on the county's homelessness. So in fact, the staff recommended 7 new full-time employees to focus specifically on issues around homelessness in the county. And that's gone through the budget process and they were approved. That's something that we've been working with them on and have been asking them to really build their staff so we can be better partners as it relates to severe weather sheltering, some day activities, some places for our homeless population to go. So I'm so excited. 3 of these positions are co-funded with the state, but the other 4 are completely funded through the county. So my thought was maybe when these positions are in place, maybe we can have the county come and speak a little bit to what their plans are as it relates to this new formation of their efforts on the homelessness. Does that sound like something we should do? We do partner really well with the county, and with their new effort, I think this will really help us all. The only thing I wanted to mention is our next meeting is a virtual meeting. It is on December 18th. It's next Monday. It starts at 7 o'clock. And it's going to be a meeting with of a real dense topic. So we would ask that you please be prepared. This is the Lakewood Strategic Housing Plan. It's been underway for, at least a year, maybe closer to 2. And we will be going through this plan. And after this study session, we'll be working toward actions that you'll be taking for adoption. So just a reminder, please review the materials. They're all online. We'd love to have the public's participation as well. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And we will then go ahead and transition over to council reports. And I'll start with Ward 5.
Well, thank you, Mayor. And first, I just want to thank all the residents for coming in and sharing your concerns and, issues about homelessness and also all the issues about Yarrow. There's a lot of different things. When everybody's talking, you end up having a lot of different thoughts bouncing around your head. And I want to just bring up a couple things. My understanding, and I'm going to get clarification on this, maybe from our city attorney later, or our planning director, but I hear people making the comment that these decisions are made in an administrative capacity and that there's no recourse for the residents. My understanding is that the Board of Adjustments, you can take appeals there, but I'm going to get clarification on that. But if there are people disagree with the decisions that are being made, my understanding is that the Board of Adjustments may be able to take a look at that. But I'm going to get clarification. Also, let's see. I have a lot of things floating around my head with this issue, but I think the short version is I think it'd be great to get more clarity from a staff perspective on this. I appreciate the memo. I thank staff for providing the memo about some of the legal issues around it. But I do think from a counselor who hasn't been on the council for a few years, there's a lot of other issues I think, relevant, like that I specifically would think would be great to get from the director. Things like understanding the dynamic with the bulk plane, understanding what types of development agreements or other, the council operates with basically two ways, either the stick or the carrot. And we understand that with the stick, there's a lot of legal issues that would challenge utilizing that tool. However, on the other side of that tool, the carrot, there are questions, is there someone at the table? This is, and I've been supportive of developments generally in the city as a former Ward 2 resident in a big way, because we have a lot of abandoned buildings and we want to see a lot of those go away, and we'd rather see housing for people and getting people off the streets amongst a lot of other issues. However, I do recognize that Belmar Park is a special place. It is where we have our Heritage Center. It's where we have wildlife. I saw eagle there the other day. It's a beautiful place, and we want to make sure that that place is protected. And I don't think it's a choice that has to be one way or the other. There might be opportunities to make this a better project. And we're not going to know that unless we have an opportunity to sit down with people and have conversations about what that development looks like, et cetera. So to that end, there's questions about that I don't know about related to the parking situation. And how do we, and the other question is, how do we protect against, let's say this project goes through as is, how do we protect against something like this happening again? I mean, everybody on the council says, they don't love the project and they would rather it to see something different. Well, if that's the case, we need to get a process going to make sure that, we do have something different next time. So whatever that process looks like, if our next study session, if we're able to have some information come to that, or the following one, if the agenda is too packed, I just wanted to bring that up. I would love to get more information on this project and make sure that we're taking the appropriate steps to make sure that, we're meeting some of the concerns. I know we can't meet all the concerns because it's just impractical, but I just want to bring that up. And the Ward 5 meeting, I'll just mention again, we're not having a Ward 5 meeting this December, mostly because we're trying to figure out what that looks like. We have one counselor who's me, and the holidays, and there's a lot of reasons for it. But I welcome you all to call me, write. Happy to sit down, chat, and learn from you all. Thanks.
Ward 4.
Thank you. I wonder, I know that we're going to get an update, a little bit more detail in the future, but can you share whether we're going to have another mediation? I know we had a mediation on the 6th. Can you share whether there'll be another mediation scheduled?
I'm sorry to say we don't have that information. We're certainly open to it, and I was expecting at least another one, but I can't say that definitively. I haven't seen any outcome of the first mediation.
Okay. And so I'd like to, well, again, I echo Councilman LeBeur's comments. I guess I would reiterate that, we would like a forum, an opportunity to have additional information. And I very much appreciate the memos that we've gotten from legal counsel. They've been very informative and helpful. When I listen to the comments from the public during the public comment phase, I don't think there's a lot of persuasion that's needed that there should be a discussion about what that project should look like and how much we value what's there. So we're looking at, what are our next steps, what are our alternatives, what are the discussion with the staff has had with the developer. And so I think we need a little bit more time and a focus session on that. And I would prefer that not be pushed to late January and all, I know we have that housing project or housing discussion, which, as you said, is going to be a dense discussion, and I don't know that there's the ability to fit time on the 18th to have at least start some of these discussions, but I think it would be very useful, at least for me. And then pivoting over to the navigation center, I suspect the city is already on top of the communication issue, but I would love to see more information about how that communication is going to move forward. Is there going to be texting to people who sign up to want to know about when the navigation center is open, in particular our nonprofits who are, as we heard tonight, are very active in taking it upon themselves to try and make sure that our unhoused are in a safe situation.
Mayor, can I respond to that?
Sure.
Thank you very much. We have learned a lot from this last weekend and recognize we need to put together a communication plan. We all made assumptions that the NAV Center was going to be open. They're dealing with some real labor issues, as we've heard Denver is too. So that created a real struggle for us. So that is our goal, to do a better job at communicating, to make sure you all, as you're contacted, have resources that are active and will be responsive as these situations happen and we deal with either the real severe cold or conversely the real severe heat as well. So we've learned a lot. We need to be better.
And I appreciate that. I mean, restaurants, everything else, when they open first, right? I mean, there's always things to work through, and this sounds like it's one of them, and the timing is good as we get into the colder season. So I very much appreciate that. Thank you. In terms of our ward meetings, I'm happy to say we're going to have a ward meeting on January 25th. The location is yet to be announced. We're working through that as we understand what the venue options that are available to us. And then on the 19th, I'm going to hold just an informal coffee at Hello Coffee from 7:30 to 9 o'clock, and people can pop in or not, buy your own coffee. But I'm certainly going to be there for folks to have any kind of conversations that they'd like to have. So thank you very much.
So that's December 19th, coffee, and January 25th is our ward meeting. Right, good enough. Just want to clarify that. Okay, I learned something tonight, or I realized something, a couple of things. First of all, I'm the oldest one here. You can call me Geezer, or look up to me. I don't care, one of those two. The other thing is, I moved here in 1980, and up on Green Mountain. And the talk about the birds at Belmar Park, I've been thinking about that for a while. If you put up a 6-story building, I'm saying, okay, they're all going to run away because of all the construction noise and the lay down yard where all the construction sets up to build stuff, because it won't be on the property. It's got to be somewhere nearby. So I'd say that the birds are going to get chased away. And I wondered, maybe they'll come back. But then I thought about something else that happened up on Ward 4 a long time ago. We used to have 2 deer herds up on Green Mountain. We do not have any deer herds or any deer at all up there now. And it happened during when Solterra was being built. And during that building, and back to Green Tree here, the interchange at Alameda and C470, they also widened Alameda at that time. It was a 2-lane road. I used to take it all the time, bicycle out of Lakewood and up into the mountains. And I wasn't greatly happy when that went to 4 lanes because, boy, there was an awful lot of cars on that suddenly. But I also used that road all the time. But it seems like that's what caused the deer herds to disappear. And I'm just using that as an example, is once you change something and you don't really plan on something happening, wildlife leave. And so I'm sticking with the idea that if we do this building the way it's currently set up, that pond won't have birds. Maybe a couple of ducks, I don't know. But we're going to lose it that way. And along that whole lines, I understand that our economy has changed. And right now in there's 2-story buildings that were offices, and we need to change things like that over to residential. There's just not a demand for that kind of office space, and there's a huge demand for residential. So, that seems like a perfect place to change it over. But I have a real problem with a 6-story building being right on top of the park. I would go along with a setback. I'd go along with, working around some of the trees. Some of the trees are going to go away. Or working with the bulk plane, which is basically a step back. Instead of 6 stories up and down, you get 2 stories and you step back, and you get 2 stories and you step back and you get 2 stories. So, and I'm saying that the birds are going to be gone because of, like, in the morning, the sun coming up, think of it in the wintertime, it's going to shade the pond. The pond's going to be colder. And then at night, the sun's going to be going down in the west. It's going to reflect off all the glass. We've all been driving and suddenly come around a corner and gotten that problem, and we've been blinded. So I'm thinking the birds are going to be gone on this one, unless we change it, and I think we should. Just make it blend in. If we could just blend it in a little bit, everything, I think, for me at least, would be hunky-dory. And that's a geezer word. So there's a couple other things. Along the lines of, well, let me go to this. A couple of weeks ago, the new people weren't here yet, but I said that this out loud was a do-nothing council. And I'm referring to the last council, by the way. We don't know what's going to happen here yet. I said that, and I stand behind it, because we had canceled 10 study sessions already this year. And I know Councilor Franks took homage with that, but I'm going to read them, because you just say the words 10 study sessions, and you go, and you don't think about it, but listen to this. It was March 27th, April 17th, May 15th, June 5th, June 26th, which was a regular meeting, July 17th, August 7th, August 21st, September 4th, October 16th, November 6th, and the regular meeting after Thanksgiving. And that doesn't include our 7 holidays. And that's what I meant by this is a do-nothing council. And I think we can do a lot more. And this is my challenge to this council, to get inquisitive about what's going on here. Like the green tree thing. We all know we didn't have enough information. Strikes me that this is a perfect time to set up a study session, maybe not the whole study session, but part of the study session, so we can understand what's going on before we come here and start voting on it. And I'd like to do that with other things. And not being one to just say, oh, this is bad. I sat down and made a list of possible things we could look at under study sessions. We could have a homeless study session. I think a lot of people here think they already know what's going on. I'm not so sure about that. I certainly don't think I do. To try to find that out, there's a sideline there. I actually went over and talked to Mike Kaufman. He is the mayor of Aurora. He went and lived with the homeless for a week. He spent 6 days in a shelter and 6 days at the camps. And so inviting somebody like that in just to get their opinion, and then other experts. I mean, it's something I think we should be doing. The same thing with like an affordable housing study. We could look at ranked choice voting. We need to reorganize our committees. That has come up many times in our discussions, our priority discussions, and we did nothing. Let's see. We need to figure out a way to get more intel from the staff as to what's coming down the pike. We need to reorganize Request Lakewood. We need to look at why there was only 2 races that were competitive this time around. I mean, is this job really that bad? And okay, here we go. Is the weak mayor council form of government working? Aurora is actually looking at something like that. I think they brought it up and then they put it off for a year, but is this the best form of government for Lakewood? And I'm not saying it's not. Don't put words in my mouth. But we could talk about it. I'd love to have an open topic day where we invite citizens to just give us ideas. You know, have a study session and no topic. Anybody that comes in says, hey, what would happen if we did this? And we could have a study session on rent control, no less. We could have a forensic audit. I don't know about that one. But one of the things I mentioned was the direct response system. And this goes back to Green Tree also. It's broken. Our system is broken on getting information to counselors. Here's what happened. I saw the agenda about 10 days ago, exactly 10 days ago. So on Friday, December 1st, I went, oh, this is a C470 Alameda interchange. It's in my ward. What is this? We're forgiving $3 million. I need to find out more. So I sent in some questions through the system, and of course it's a Friday, so nothing's going to come back until Monday. So Monday it's assigned to Ben. I'm assuming you were out of town last week or on vacation. But so nothing happened. But let's just assume you had answered it immediately back into our system. The answers wouldn't have come back to me until Friday, 3 days ago, at which point when you get your emails that says the direct response has been updated on Friday afternoons. So I would have gotten a response on last Friday afternoon, and then I would have had the weekend to look at that and not been able to follow up on it, all about the Green Tree thing, which we didn't talk about tonight. But I'm pointing out that the way we get information isn't working that well, and we really need to sit down and look at it and figure out some better ways of going about it. I might have something else. Nope. No, that was it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ward 3. I'm happy to go first. I did want to update the community with all of the most recent information that I have on the mediation with the parkland. The write-up from the initial mediation is being put together and is hopefully going to be put out on the website this week. I heard that it was incredibly productive, that the developer walked away with a list of 5 to 7 pretty significant concessions. One, the only one that I know about at this point in time, because it's not finished getting written up though, is a significant increase in the amount of trees preserved on the property. So don't have that number, but that is good positive news for us tonight coming out of that. So wanted to update everyone with the most recent information that I have coming out of those mediations with folks in the community and the developer. I will be holding office hours this week, thanks to those of you who signed up for private one-on-one time. Those are full, so really looking forward to digging into some topics with you all about that and some of the topics that you're going to be bringing to me. I'm already doing some research and trying to get you some good information on Wednesday. But I did want to just highlight and thank staff for their response this weekend. With the cold weather, I can take zero credit for doing anything except answering my phone and picking it up and calling somebody else, because this really is the type of effort that takes all of us, and I'm really appreciative that I know we had some kinks in the system, and I don't love that came at the potential cost of somebody freezing. So would really love for us to be able to do better. But I really saw us as a city snap into action, and I'm really appreciative of the support and the responsiveness. And I know it took a lot of our weekends, but it was very worth it, and really, really grateful for the amount of people on Saturday who were able to find a place to sleep. So thank you to Ms. Hodson and Mr. Goldstein in particular. I know you were both working on that quite a bit this weekend with me, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Stewart. I really don't have very much to add at this time. Just a couple quick points. One, we don't yet have our schedule of Ward 3 meetings, but Councilor Stewart and I are going to be finalizing that and announcing that at the next City Council meeting, which I believe is January 8th. So we will, at that time, sort of lay out our next couple of joint Ward 3 meetings and opportunities to meet with us in 2024. And I'm really looking forward to getting those on the books and getting a chance to hear more from you. Really appreciate all the feedback and comments we've gotten today. 2 quick points. Really just want to deeply thank the folks from the city, leadership from the city, several of my fellow councilors, and some folks that we heard from today for their work, making sure that our neighbors don't freeze to death. It's something I'm really concerned about, and I know folks are working hard on it, and I do think we can do better. I think we do need to have, really, really it's literally a matter of life and death. We need to have great clarity about where we can send people and how to get them that information. So I'm definitely going to be digging into that further. And meanwhile, I just want to thank the folks that were out there in the cold trying to direct folks to where they need to go. It again is an issue of life or death. And I can't imagine something that's more serious than that for all of us and to this council. I just wanted to say that I've been listening very, very carefully to the many, many comments that we've been getting on Belmar Park. I'm not going to say very much about that tonight. I'm sure I'll be saying more about that as I kind of get my bearings in this job in the coming weeks. But I have been listening very carefully to the feedback. And I guess I just want to say for now, I live literally 2 blocks from that park. I run in that park every single morning. I've been in that park basically every single morning for the last 5 years. It is a deeply personal space for me too. Deeply personal. I don't know what I would do without that park. It's something that it's just an absolutely gorgeous place. I'm very, very familiar with all the photos that we saw today because I go there every day. So I guess I just wanted to express this is not just a matter of public concern and something that I think is important to the city. It's also a matter that I take very seriously. So I'm sure I'll be saying more about that. I am looking forward to a couple meetings over the next week or two with several folks in the community who I know have this on their minds, and I'll be talking more to them about this. This is obviously an immensely complicated issue. I think anyone who suggests that there are very simple, black and white, easy answers to this at this stage is doing a disservice to the complexity and nuance of this incredibly thorny, complicated topic. That much has been, I think, made very clear to me as I've gotten my bearings on this topic. And I'm sure I'll have more to say on this soon. Meanwhile, thanks again. Happy holidays. Don't forget, Belmar is a pretty darn fabulous place to go Christmas shopping or holiday shopping. And I hope you'll come visit because we got a lot of great stuff in the community. Happy holidays, everyone.
Word 2.
I'm going to jump in and start, and I will begin by welcoming my new colleague to the bench, Councilwoman Isabel Cruz. And I really am so delighted to see you up here. I believe that you are the second Latina to ever represent our ward, me being the first. So really thrilled to work with you. I know that lots of folks, obviously the majority of folks in our ward, supported you in your endeavor. And I think that we will be able to champion big things together and hold each other accountable and push each other to make the best possible policy to serve all of you. And I really could not be more grateful for my new colleague. I have just a couple of quick things. So one is I also agree that I'm really grateful for the ability of staff to step up and work to shelter as many people as possible in our cold snap this weekend, and also to recognize that our city level infrastructure for protecting unhoused people and our housing unstable neighbors is really new. And it is something that actually this last Do Nothing Council got to figure out over the last couple of years. For those who don't know, both Safe Lots and then also this emergency shelter program are new in the last year and a half, I think. And they are a result really of an increasing amount of housing instability, the cost of housing going up and creating a higher percentage of homelessness than we've ever seen in our community. And a thinking that really, as Lakewood has grown and matured as a city, that we are now in a position that we were not in maybe even only 5 years ago, where we can handle this kind of infrastructure. But that is new. Like, that is a social infrastructure that we did not have, like, the funding, the staff, the ability to do when we were a smaller city. And so I'm excited to see this as sort of us putting our best foot forward for like what the future of this growing city might get to look like as something, as a place that actually genuinely cares and creates compassionate spaces for all of our neighbors. And I think that's an incredible ambition, and it's also really inspiring to me to like see everybody on this bench agree that that's something that we have to be dealing with. So thank you to all the staff who worked on that and all of the city council people who have worked on that, either in creating some of that policy or making it happen this weekend, especially to Councilor Stewart. It's just, we're still at the beginning of the winter, so we'll continue to get it more and more right. And everyone who sent in a comment about that, called me about that, texted anyone else of us about that, it was really, really helpful because we do need to get it right. It is high stakes. And so continuing to watch us, keep us accountable, and push us to do the best we can, I'm really, really grateful for that. Sorry. So also in the spirit of it's wintertime and we need to be as compassionate to each other as we can, there's a toy drive right now for Gifts for Children being run by Iber Neighborhood Association. I'm sure there's lots across the city, but that is one in Ward 2. And also the Action Center is having a winter gear drive, so jackets, scarves, gloves, that kind of thing. You can drop them off at the 40 West Hub, which is like the art building that's in the middle of the parking lot where Casa Bonita is. So Casa Bonita is like up in a corner, and in the middle over by the Dutch Brothers, kind of that direction, there is a building filled with art galleries. If you've never been in there, it's a great excuse to go in there, and you can drop any donations you might have as well. I also specifically am involved in some groups that are working to get gear and jobs and other types of needs to recent influx of migrants and immigrants from Venezuela and other places. And so if you're interested in getting involved in that, spending time in that work, please just reach out to me directly. My email is sguerrero, SGUERRERO @lakewood.org. And my cell phone, or my phone is listed on the website. My cell phone's listed in my email signature. You're very welcome to reach out and I'll get you plugged in. I also do think that Councilor Olver's list of study session ideas is absolutely admirable, but I want to make it clear to anyone still paying attention at this time of the evening that all of us have long lists of things we would like to have get done, and that we have to move as a body. And so I encourage Councilor Olver, excuse me, Rich, to make sure that you attend our annual planning meeting in 2024 to make sure that your priorities are also heard, because it's an important responsibility of the job. I never have. We can have that fight offline if you'd like to. I'm happy to. I think my last set of things is that we are having, Councilor Cruz and I will make a more permanent ward meeting schedule, which we have not yet had an opportunity to do, but our December meeting is this coming Saturday at 2:30 at the Clement Center, which is the usual ward meeting location on Yarrow Street. And it will also be on Zoom because this fabulous new ward mate of mine has decided to be dedicated enough to make the technology happen. So hybrid ward meeting this Saturday at the Clement Center and on Zoom, with our permanent ward meeting schedule yet to come.
Thank you. To my fabulous co-counselor, thank you so much for your kind words, and I'm really excited to learn from you and work with you for our ward and for our great city. Not a ton to add, just wanted to again thank everybody for taking the time to come and speak with us this evening, some with some very creative visuals. So it's been an exciting night up here on the dais. This is my first time. And I know some of you have posed questions to us. You've posed questions to us via email, via phone, in our inbox, in meetings, all that kind of stuff. So looking forward to getting you all the answers that we can, and thanking staff for their support in getting us that information as well. I know this is a point of interest and for many people in the community regarding the Yarrow Street development. And then also just wanted to double down on the appreciation for folks coming to speak to us tonight about, concern for our unhoused neighbors here. I really appreciate and think it is so important for us to move forward with a shared sense of humanity and community with our neighbors on Colfax and beyond. And I think that, again, just wanted to shout out the folks who were there, who were freezing in the cold, trying to figure these things out for people. And I think the only thing new I can add to what's been said is not only was it a reminder that we as a city really need to, continue to figure things out. And again, really appreciate the responsiveness from staff and from other counselors, but also how hard navigating these systems is as a person on the street. I myself was out on Colfax on Friday with a 3% phone trying to figure things out, and that was stressful. And I knew I was going to get home to a charger, right? And so I think that was just another reminder for me of the difficulty and the humanity of that situation. So I hope we move forward with that continued thought and care as we tackle these policy issues that have real human implications. And I'm excited to hopefully not mess up the Zoom on Saturday. So thank you.
Ward 1.
Thank you. We are the most consistent ward having meetings. Councillor Sherazai tells me. So we, excuse me, we did have our ward meeting, and it's scheduled the first Saturday of the month. We had a staff person just again go through the website and say how there are many avenues for contacting your city councilor, and we really appreciate you doing that. And I'll just say that, whoa, getting up to speed is like hitting it 0 to 60, And I'll just speak for all my newbie counselors. So we really want to do our best for the city. That's why we're here. And you heard about how awesome they were in helping, people that are freezing. And that's just a little bit of the iceberg compared to the concern and the compassion. And so don't just jump, to, oh, they received money and they're in the pocket of the developer or whatever. Come on now, that's a leap when you don't really know us. So get to know us, first of all. Back to the ward meetings. So, like I said, we had one the first Saturday in December because of the proximity to the holidays in January. The first Saturday we will not have a January ward meeting, but we will start again in February. I'll let you take this next one then, the wildlife, unless you want me to. Okay, because some other people took her topic, so I was going to give it back to her. She suggested this one. So the Sustainable Arbor has a really cool thing, wildlifeoflakewood.org. And so what that is for any Lakewood resident to be able to submit photos. And I think she let me do this because I said, I submitted photos last year. And I didn't win anything, but somebody bought a couple of them. They were just pretty cheap. There were some foxes in our neighborhood. So we saw some beautiful visuals, some pictures. Maybe you'll check out that website, wildlifeoflakewood.org, and you can submit some photos. They'll have all the photos on display. And yeah, it's great to see. And you can even do insects, though. I'm debating on whether I should submit a really cool praying mantis, though. That's a really cool picture. So I might submit that. We'll see. But anyway, I appreciate everyone who's helping me and the rest of us get up to speed. I appreciate my co-counselor, Sherazai, for her help. And of course, Mayor Stroms. Thank you.
Yep, just a couple of quick notes. Again, you just want to reinforce how much we appreciate hearing from community members, the amount of time you've taken to research the topic around Belmar Park, the amount of time you've taken to organize, to come here and present that information. We're listening. I know that this is frustrating. Things move slow in government. I'm not sure if you've noticed that, but I certainly have. And really excited about my new peers on council who clearly have a commitment to solution-focused inquiry, which I think is really important for us. So coming with answers and possible solutions as opposed to sort of poking holes in everything that's going wrong, because we've seen a lot of that. We saw some of that tonight even. And so I just wanted to reinforce some of the points that Councilor Mayotte Guerrero made. You know, I know that some of you on this dais, this is a do-nothing council, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done around safe parking lots, emergency shelter ordinances, passing the enhanced development menu, campaign finance regulations, and short-term rentals, which I would point out took 2 years for the other council to hand that over to us. So I encourage all of council to attend the planning retreat at the start of the year, because that's a really helpful way to get some of your priorities in front of your peers, because we work as a body and not as individuals. And so I really am excited for the sort of collaboration and spirit that's coming with my new peers. I wanted to just also highlight, we're going to be establishing the selection committee in the new year, and we have a number of vacancies in the committee or in the community across all of the boards and commissions. So please, please, please share with your community members, with your neighbors. We would love to have some new faces in the mix for this. And then finally, I just wanted to mention that Katie Owens, who was the neighborhood association president in the Miller Heights neighborhood, passed away last week. And we were so sad to hear that. She's been a tremendous community leader, and I just wanted to recognize all the work that she's done in the community and let her family and community know that we're holding her in our hearts. So, and with that, I will turn it over. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've been very busy the last few weeks, as you can imagine, working through. We've got lots of new faces up here and getting everybody onboarded. And I cannot say enough how honored I am to serve with all of you. I had the honor actually last week of spending most of the week at a new mayoral training workshop that really will help me come to the table and also be able to steward all of us, so that we had a lot of big goals, and we really, a lot of us made very big, promises isn't the right word, but we are really, really excited to work very hard to improve a number of things in our community, not the least of which being addressing homelessness and housing. And I'm very excited for the tools that I have, and I can't say enough with it, all the time that I've spent with all of you over the last few weeks, getting everybody ready for this work. So welcome all of you, and thank you so much for taking on this job. We have our retreat that's been brought up a couple of times. Wanted to make an announcement for that. We will have that coming up in the next couple of months, and that is really the new city council's opportunity to sit down and, for one, coalesce, but for the other, to really identify what we want our strategic priorities to be over the next year, over the next 2 years, so that we are really laying the groundwork to ultimately do the best that we can to move forward in all of those things. So look for more information. You'll be getting an email from me soon to start the scheduling process, and we'll be sharing more as we know there. Also want to make note, too, as your former Ward 5 city councilor, that we do have a special election that has been kicked off. Our formal election day will be January 30th. I think ballots were getting mailed around the 8th or the 12th, something. Yep. So if you live in Ward 5, look for a ballot in your mailbox. Mid-January or so, we have another counselor to join to our ranks, and happy to answer any questions you may have. And I'm guessing Councilor LeBure will also be hosting a candidate forum in January as well, so you have the opportunity to meet. We do have 2 candidates in the race right now. With that, without being too redundant, I want to again say thank you to all of you who took the time to come this evening and share your thoughts and concerns. And Mr. Thormsgaard, and your positive, glass half full. It's a treat to see this many faces this late in the night. We do not actually typically get to see these many faces when we say our reports. So it's great to see all of you sticking around this evening. Thank you so much for sharing your concerns with us, and do know that we do hear you, and hopefully with the counselor comments that have been said tonight, that reiterates that. And with that, I'll go ahead and close us out with a happy Hanukkah, happy holidays, happy New Year. A lot of things coming and going before we actually, and happy Kwanzaa, before we meet again in January. So thank you so much, and we'll go ahead and close us out.